called multinational investment, and we deal with investment trade. So two of our partners were supposed to be here today. I really wanted you to meet with them. One of them, his name is Mr. Miller, right? And the other, he's a sheikh in Saudi Arabia. But unfortunately, a missile, the debris from a missile actually hit his palace, so he wasn't able to join us.
Is he okay?
Yeah, okay. That's why he was letting me know that the debris from a missile hit his palace. I was like, no, sheikh, everybody want to meet you. But he'll be here shortly. And Mr. Miller stated he's going to join us. Mr. Miller is a former Navy guy. So he's a Navy veteran. We got to forgive him. I'm Army, of course. Right? So we forgive him for making that decision. But he's one of the smartest people I know for transparency. And he's just extremely intelligent, very wise. So you guys can be anything, as well as myself, pertaining to matters between Iraq and, my apologies, Iran and the U.S. As you know, earlier I told you that we were stepping away from from the congressional race to deal with the diplomacy. And this is actually, for these particular reasons, we can always excite our network and deal with those high-level discussions. Somebody in our network will be able to take control, especially since now we know Russia is actually aiding Iran, right? Which is it's very troubling. So a lot of magnitude. See, Iran is one of those countries that if you excite them, then they have a tendency to escalate things, right? You get them confidence, they're going to utilize that confidence, whatever matter they believe they need to be utilized in, and especially have a superpower like Russia, right? The beautiful thing about the scenario, nevertheless, is that it is transpiring in the Middle East. So we do have friends in UAE, we do have friends in Saudi Arabia, we do have friends in Iraq, right? Sheikh himself, he's actually from Iraq, and he got his sheikh title in Iraq, I believe, and then moved to Saudi Arabia. So there are additional levels where he can actually meet with people. He actually currently in a meeting with the son of the president for Iraq right now. They're having their discussions. We want to speak with the United States and how we can mend some of these relationships and work together. As when you have a scenario of this magnitude where you have global unrest, you're going to need global network to bring a lot of the stability in place. You see, and obviously you see why I was a candidate for Congress, because it's technically on the congressional level, how we're maneuvering. It's really not that. You don't see too many congressional personnel jumping in, saying that they want to try to establish some level of peace, right? That's not their position, right? It's more legislative, how we're going to take care of the citizens. Those high-level conversations are more in the lines with the President of the United States or Department of State, Marco Rubio, in those capacities. But God just blessed us with a network that extends throughout the globe and exciting them and magnificent arenas is how we try to get control of this. It's gonna need a lot of hands on. It's gonna take a lot of hands on to deal with this. You saw the embassy was hit. The embassy in UAE was hit. The embassy in Iraq was hit. The Iran is just hitting. Name embassy in the Middle East. They just moving significant. You see what's going on with the Strait of Hormuz, which is pretty bad for the citizens here in America. Goodness, you see that Israel also attacked Hezbollah. They're attacking them as well over in Lebanon.
And Libya.
They attacking Libya as well. But you need as many hands as possible. And honestly, full transparency, when I look at the list of candidates on the Democratic side, it's literally not one candidate on the congressional side, 13th, that can deal with this. This is a monster. This is a monster of a problem, right? Who can deal with it? There's nobody over there, right? Did Mr. Miller join this call? I see 3 people still.
Yes. I'm going to bring Mr. Phil up now.
He's such a genius.
Hello, it's so nice to meet
good morning.
you. Good
Same
morning.
Here. How are you?
Nice to meet you. So please introduce yourself to our audience, and then I'll let you join in the conversation with Simeon.
Philip Miller, representing as a COO for MIG. And so I don't know what else you want me to talk about, really. Simeon had asked me to come to the meeting here. And so I said, yeah, I'll join the meeting. He said he was going to ask some questions. He may need me to jump in and help him answer some things. So that's basically why I'm here.
Okay, great. Thank you for joining. And like I said, I'll let Simeon pretty much lead the conversation because he has a topic that he would really like to bring to our audience today.
So, as you can see, goodness, look at Mr. Miller, way more handsome than I am, right? I can't wear it like that when I get older.
I'm old.
Man is now. So, Mr. Miller is actually, he's a registered Democrat, right? Mr. Miller registered Democrat, which is pretty good. You know, I'm registered Republican. You see, but when you have these types of relationships, these types of alliances, and how we work together, obviously in the company with multinational investment group, like you stated earlier, like I stated, and in the sheet, he's also part of us as well. We have to come to a understanding that it's not about parties at this moment in time. It's not about greed at this moment in time. It's literally about alliance, how we can work together to move forward, to settle down tensions across the globe and see what we can possibly do. Because at the end of the day, even though you're a Democrat, even though you're a Republican, right, I will always say MIG is the most important company on earth, right? If you're an American, if you're a Liberian, whatever citizen that you may be, you see, currently at this state of time, we all need to pull together. We all need to pull together because we all live on this globe together, right? We all still inhabitants of this great paradise, this great bubble that we live in, this beautiful marble called Earth. We're all here together for peace and humanity to move forward. That's what we need at this moment in time to work together. This is my brother right here, Mr. Philip Miller. So again, like we were talking about earlier, Mr. Miller was discussing the U.S. as it relates to Iran, right? And this tension is currently going on, right? And the role that MIG play as we switched over from the congressional seat to move over to the diplomat seat to move forward. Mr. Miller, we had a briefing, we had a nice we had a nice introduction in D.C. at the embassy, right?
Yeah.
A nice introduction at the embassy. It rained, sleet, hell, and shine. We was there. But again, it's going to take for this level of turmoil, tumultuous of volatility and instability that's currently being implemented throughout the globe. This significant level of turpitude between the nation is going to take all hands on deck to move forward. And again, Mr. Miller can attest, after we serve this capacity, we do plan on rolling back over with those credentials in diplomacy, like I heard you saying earlier, with negotiations, right?
Mm-hmm.
With negotiation now under our belt as another benchmark and a milestone of accomplishments of this significant magnitude, then we'll take our congressional. But I'd love for you to, Mr. Miller's a Navy guy, extremely educated, smart as a whip, one of the smartest people I know. So when I ask him or he can get some insight on his ideas, his thoughts as well.
Okay, well, thank you for your service, Mr. Phil.
Thank you. Thank you. So, Simeon, I had come on here because, I thought we were going to talk a little bit about, some of the technologies that we have, in our company, right? And so with part of the company that I was a part of is called Disruptive Robotics and Engineering before I came over to MIG. And so MIG is actually going to probably engulf, DRE, which is the short name for it, Disruptive Robotics and Engineering. And so we've been in government contracting for many, many years. I'm a Lockheed Martin guy. I worked for him for about 13 years, left from there and went and worked for, V2X. I worked for Computer Sciences Corporation, won many, many contracts for the government and everything, Homeland Security, cybersecurity. I done, aerostats and, all kind of contracts that I've won over the years. And so what happened is when I left Lockheed Martin, we went over and started a business called R4. And so in that business, we've had many products that we developed because we was doing counter IED work, right? So there was a ton of people being blown up, of course, tripwires and all of that, and we had to have detection devices in order to be able to pick those things up so that we can forewarn our troops. And so I went over to Kandahar in Afghanistan, spent some time over there, kind of got the lay of the land, jumped around to all the different FOBs over there. And then I had come back here, and then our group, along with one of our business partners, came up with a product called Finder, which is a radar, S-band radar, that basically it takes and it can propagate forward, and it can detect whether people are in, homes, or if they're in a building, or if they're in a car. So we went over to Nepal when they had the big earthquake. I think it was down.
Yes.
It was back in 2015.
Mm-hmm.
And so they brought their search dogs out there, and they did SAR was out there, which is search and rescue, and they went and they had the dogs sniffing, and then they pulled their dogs away. They had finished their search. And so what we did is we had our machine finder, and we said, well, give us an opportunity to point our finder towards this rubble. And it was just, it was devastation everywhere, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so we pointed the device towards the rubble, and we realized that there was someone there, because the heartbeat sensor, what it does, it takes your heartbeat and takes your breathing. Everyone has a specific signature, and we
Yes.
capture that signature, and we know that it's a human being. It's not a dog. It's not a cat. It's not anything. It's a person. And so we propagated forward and found that there was a 61-year-old woman who had broken a clavicle bone. She had an arm broken and a leg broken, but she was alive. And they had completed their rescue mission.
Wow.
And that lady was in there. So the dogs didn't pick her up, but our device did. And so we were very excited about that. We took that device all over the world. We came back to the United States. We presented to Homeland Security and Customs and Border Control. They actually adopted it. It's part of the AEL, with the authorized equipment list for FEMA to use and for counter, the Border Patrol to use. And so in that big Florida, when that building collapsed,
Mm-hmm.
they used it down there. So that technology is a technology that we're trying to push forward in MIG. We're of course looking for investors, because we had the government tell us that although the product is really good and it has service purpose, but it's service purpose at a given time. And they're saying with today, with everything being so fluid and things moving all over on the battlefield or wherever you're going to utilize the product, we need to update the product so it can do vectoring, which means that the subject can be moving and the actual device can be moving at the same time.
Okay.
So right now how it works is you put it on a tripod, you point it in a direction, it propagates for 30 seconds, and then it brings back a result, right? And we've also put it on a drone, and then it'll fly out, and we'll let the drone just hover, and it'll propagate for 30 seconds, and then it'll give you a result. What vectoring will allow us to do is that the person can be moving however fast they want to move. So it can be one person in a crowd of 100 people running down the street, moving all around. And once we propagate their signature, right, they can move all they want. If I had a drone or something in the air, I would find them amongst 100 people. That's what the vectoring will allow us to do. They can be running around doing whatever they want to do. They can even, and because the signature is so precise, right, they can go to the best plastic surgeon in the world and get their whole face and everything changed, and I'll still know it's him or her.
Now, okay, let me stop you right there, because this is a good and a bad thing, right? It depends on how you're going to use it. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, this is great, but wait a minute. wait a
Yeah.
minute. Like, if
Yeah.
you really want to use it against your enemy, right? And we've unfortunately gone through ebbs and flows, I would say, in our government where people are like, you're the enemy. I'm like, is that really your enemy? Or this is somebody you have an alt against, right? There's a difference. Could this be
Well,
used in a disparaging way? I guess that's the question.
can I jump in right here for 2 seconds before I let Mr. Miller take over? I'm telling you, I told you he's one of the smartest men I know. Any man with that glasses and that face and that jacket, you just know he's intelligent. Just know his IQ level is not even on Earth. But nevertheless, you remember what I was telling you at one of the last meetings? We have technology that can be deployed in a human trafficking world, so we can find women who was actually kidnapped and on a missing list, and we was also can find personnel who actually has a history of human trafficking on the most wanted list. We can find these people. That is, if this is that technology at that current speed, that current age. So you can use anything for bad. AR-15, AR-15 in your house. To me, as an Army person, that's for self-defense. That's for home defense.
Right.
That's why I support the NRA, because I know I can utilize these weaponry to protect my family. But in the hands of somebody that's wicked, look at what they can do, mass shootings. So anything could be used for good and evil. It all depends on the mind of the individual that we refer to. Go ahead, Mr. Miller.
Yeah, but that's amazing.
I want to answer that, because you're absolutely right. It can be, anything could be used for good or evil, right? So that is just the situation. But I think there's really some good uses for a technology like this, right? One of the major concerns with the technology, and we had presented this to the government once before. We had gone to I2WD, which is the Intelligence and Information Warfare Directorate, right, and told them basically, you could take this product, right, and we can commercialize this product, and we can be, just like, I'm from, I was born in South Side of Chicago, but I basically grew up in Michigan, right? But I was born there, and so there's an affinity there. But because there's a lot of folks there, there's everywhere you go, you'll see these, like a little tower, they're like little rods, and they have, what they basically do is when they hear a gunshot, if there's shooting in the area, it alerts the cops, and they come to that area to see, okay, what's going on in the area, right? And so we had spoken to the government and said, we can do and we were going to call it Athena. We can do a thing called Athena, where, because I worked in a telecommunications space where we built towers, right? And I did that for probably about 10 years. And so I had crews, and we would build towers, and we would do small cell, upgrades. And so as you go, you have the repeaters going down the road to keep your cell phone connected, right? So I'm just saying, we could put when we presented this to the government, here's Athena. We can, and where those small cells go, we can put a small little box with our technology in there, right? And that could do some tracking as well. So for example, right, people are always concerned about PII. I don't want you with my personal information, right? So if I take your signature, but I don't have your name, how do I know who you are? I don't know you specifically by name, but I know you by signature. So now if I take that signature and I put it into a database, right? And then later, God forbid you don't but later you go do a crime, right? And that signatures in that database, you go do a crime. I don't know your name, but I know that signature matches the same person that was in the area that did that crime. So now I go, okay, so now we can do a number of things. We can go take potential folks that we believe was involved in that crime. I can walk you through, just like any metal detector. So when you come to the police station, I bring 15 people in there. I say, just walk through the door. When you walk through the door, I take your signature. My device is there. And now that signature matches right up to the person that was in there at that crime scene and there. And I go, it's you, right? Never have to know your name, right? Never get involved in your PII. Never get involved, because you lose certain rights once you commit a crime, right? So that is those kind of things. Like we even told some of the special forces, like, you can put it on the end of your rifle, and as they bust down the door and they put their gun in first, then they turn, right?
Mhm.
Well, our device could detect there's a person in there, right? So you like, okay, I know there's someone in here. I don't have to, hey, announce you're in there. So it just has so many, it has such utility
Mhm.
in how you can use the equipment. And we even had some of the African folks say people are running through the bush because they're taking the tusks from the elephants. And once
Yes.
they do that, they run through the bush. So the reason why they said it'd be nice to put that on a drone and then fly over top and know that somebody's down there running through the bush, right? And so just things like that. And that's why we're looking for investment to get this product to a place where it can be vectored. And if we can do that, we have utility for the government, utility for commercial use, ability to patent it in a number
Mhm.
of hospitals and all across. So yeah, there's just a number of ways we can use the product.
I'm really surprised that the government doesn't want to use it.
Yeah.
It's
They did.
interesting.
They
Oh, they
did.
did. They
Yeah, they
did.
did. They did use it. And what they're
Oh.
telling us now. So the government purchased about the last purchase we had from the government was probably in 2007, 19 or 2000, maybe 19 or 20. And they
Okay.
bought 10 boxes, right? And they bought
Okay.
each one of the boxes for $150,000, right? Because we had mass produced them, so the boxes
Right.
was much higher. And so and they bought them and they utilize them, right? So but they're telling us this technology is not what we want. It's not quick enough. We don't want something we got to sit on a tripod and let it propagate for 30
Right.
seconds.
Hmm.
It's got to be able to move, so yeah.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
Yeah.
So now that you have, I should say, upgraded the product, now it can be a little bit more beneficial.
Well, we have not upgraded the product because
Okay.
we didn't we use in order to get that product where it's at, the current product that we have boxes right now that does exactly what I'm saying. But to get
Hmm.
it to the point where it's vectoring, where the subject can move and the device can move, will take some engineering, right?
Gotcha.
And so we use the NASA engineers to help us build the original version of this product. We use some very, very, very smart engineers, right?
Not
And
as smart as
so
you, bro. Not
and
as smart.
says they're way smarter than me. They're very, very smart engineering
I would love to see
engineers. And so we need those type of people again to do the upgrades.
Okay.
And
Well, not.
and we need the funding to do everything. So we've been out talking to folks trying to get them to do it. With AI, people
Hmm.
are they somewhere else now. So
If I'm
Okay.
not mistaken, Mr. Miller, so doctor, again, this is multinational investment group, right? As well. Um, Luckily for the Democrats, you see, the company was actually the on the campaign trail as our advisors, and as you see, they didn't stand a chance, doctor. That wasn't even close. But nevertheless, we do establish peace. We love peace throughout the globe. So the company is deploying in this magnitude. Again, we are able in the sheik. If the sheik was on the call, he'd be able to jump in. But sheik, that's another story. But if we were able to, the sheik actually had a missile that hit the debris, hit his palace.
Right.
Unfortunately,
Mhm.
and we were talking to the sheik yesterday. Mr. Miller told him that he was able to capture 10,000 drones at one time. Extremely impressive.
that's the new product. That's the new product we have out there. That's not the hard to beat detection one, which is Finder.
Mhm.
This product is called B Commander, and the product that we have now is we went over to the UAE for a demonstration, and the UAE was able to detect 500 drones. Most folks can't detect fiber drones, right?
Mhm.
And so we got to come up with a way to do that, right? But they were able to detect 500 at a time. Our system is able to detect 10,000 at a time, right?
Wow.
And so just the likely it just decreases the number of hits that can occur when you can detect more drones, right? So you won't be able to stop all of them because what's happening is you got the various types of drones,
Mhm.
and in fiber drones, in some cases, they get through some of your counter, UAS types things that you're trying to do. But
Right.
so some of them will get through. But having 10,000 opposed to 500 is a big deal.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Significant.
Yeah, so we did that. And one of the things also we're trying to come up with, we have a little lab down in Aberdeen, Maryland. We're trying to come up with is what's happening on the battlefield is you have drones that are being set up over the battlefield. And so when they deploy the drones from the original staging point, like say, you know, Iran is going over to the UAE and they, hit some of like they hit the hotel right next to the Burj Khalifa over there.
Yeah.
And so when you get stuff like that and they do the staging and they deploy everything, what happens is they're picking up drones along the way. So they send out 100 drones, but they stage 1,000, right?
Okay.
So they send out a few of the drones, and what the drones do, and they're basically flying over the land, and they're picking up the topography of the land. So it's kind of similar to like if you got a Lexus car or something, and you see it pop up on, I know it's in Lexus, but you see it pop up, and it tells you as you're driving, you hit a big pothole. Well,
Right.
what happens is your car hits that pothole, and then part of machine learning, right? It sends it up through the cloud, and then all the people that's driving on that road, right? It tells them now all the Lexus package that has that capability. It tells them you're about to come up on a pothole, or a cop
Right.
is in front of us, or whatever. So
Mm-hmm.
the drones are doing something very similar. They're coming over, and they're picking up information, and then they're sending it back to a top, operations center. And when they send it back to that operations center, it actually gives that information out to the rest of the drones. In some cases, the drones are flying out, and as they have the drones that are placed all over the place, they basically say it's good to go. And those drones come up, and they can have bombs, they can have whatever, and they can blow, right? So what we are doing, and they can't detect that because there's nothing that's moving. When they're checking a drone, they're getting the movement, they're getting like either the propellers, they're getting all these different things that are happening. So what we're doing is we're coming up with a system that really kind of combats that. And I don't want to go too far because the technology that we're coming up with is very unique. And so we're sitting in a lab, putting our brains together, trying to come up with that. And that will be a game changer along with detecting fiber. So there's a battlefield going out there. We're in war. And so folks now are wanting quick, fast solutions. And we're trying to be that company, to do that. So
Yeah, and that's going to save a lot of lives, right? And it
correct.
might even, I want to say, deter individuals for acting in certain ways. It's like, hey, we know what you're doing. We already
Hmm.
know. Now
Right.
let's negotiate
Right.
before anybody gets hurt, right?
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and that's good, because what we don't want to get into is what some people have said about this current conflict is into a forever war. Now, I
Correct.
know a lot of people don't like it when I say that we're not at war, but we're not, because you know why? Because everybody would have to go to jail because Congress isn't involved. Okay, it's really that simple. All right, we're in a conflict. It's not
Yeah.
war yet.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not war
But
yet.
if you look at what happened with Afghanistan when we went through
Hmm.
that whole ordeal for
That I
9 years and billions and billions and billions of dollars, yeah, we
yes.
can't afford that. We just can't
Mm-mm,
afford that for our economy right now. So yeah.
mm-mm, mm-mm. And somebody said it best. This isn't the World War II era where, oh, we're at war and now we're making all of these products, right? Because war
Correct.
used to be beneficial
Right.
because then it would cause jobs in a particular area, which is defense contracts.
That's
It's
correct.
not like that anymore.
That's right. That's right.
We
That's
are in
right.
a totally different industrial revolution where it's like, okay, we're still consumers, we're still not making anything. So, what does actual war look like if we go to war? It's more informational and it does come back to negotiation. So, thank you for the information that you've given us. Is there anywhere where our audience can, find you, support you, and in your endeavors?
Yeah. So right now, I don't know which email to actually give, but I guess I can give my email is pmiller@dretech.io. So pmiller@dretech.io,
And
and
don't
someone can
forget to
send me.
come to the website now.
Yeah, yeah, and so we do have a company website too, which is what is it now? MIGmarkets.com.
MIG.markets. Yes, yes, yes.
Mm-hmm. So they can, of course, go to MIG. But one of the things you said there about not doing anything and building anything, I just wanted to make this last point. You know, the I guess they did have a meeting with Northrop Grumman, like our government had a meeting with Northrop Grumman and trying to pull them in because, you know, we're running out of, you know, ammo or whatever they need to build there for as munitions are concerned. And so, but even that doesn't get the kind of jobs back in like the World War II and like that era. It just doesn't present those type of jobs. And that's very unfortunate that we are service, we all service, and we're really not developers and inventors anymore, right? So,
Right. And that's what I'm looking forward to getting back to, because yes, with the advent of technology, obviously manufacturing looks different, but it has to be tangible, right? And so it's moving forward, but it's like, okay, well, kind of how do we move forward without destroying ourselves, right? Without working around ourselves and working our way out of a job. Right. My husband and I talk about it all the time. It's like we are in such a rush to eliminate ourselves from the process of development, right? With the advent of technology. So I'm really hoping with more technology it'll help us as human beings to be a part of that ecosystem as opposed to eliminating us.
Absolutely.
The ecosystem.
I want to say another thing too as well.
So I'll let you guys have last words, and then I'll let you move on with your day.
Go for it, Mr. Miller.
Oh, no, I just appreciate you guys inviting me to this meeting here. So, you know, not much for me to say. If anyone, again, wants to contact me, it's at 𝑝miller@𝗏𝗏tech.io.
Wonderful.
And the company website, Mr. Miller.
Okay. And markets, I forget what it is, Simeon, so you give that out.
Markets.
Okay.
And the last thing that I want to say, we did acquire some medical supplies that you're aware of. And thank Mr. Miller and the team for assisting in that transition. So we was able to acquire those medical supplies. Our company, again, Multinational Investment Group, well, we are in a position, a very unique space that we can support countries as well as pursue legislation seeks as well as support countries in peace. In this magnitude, we are looking into working with the 𝗲𝗓 to deploy some of these medical supplies over to some of the embassies that was hit during these magnitudes, during these strategic battles that Iran, that's what they call it, in the strategic battle. So what we're currently doing is supporting those embassies and supporting the citizens across the country, across the nation, across the world, abroad, letting them know that they still have friends. Not everybody's enemies, so we can bring these things together. In the same portion, we still do have technology that's able to protect the citizens from these devastating attacks. You saw what happened in Lebanon with 10,000 citizens was actually displaced, with 10,000 citizens died, 1 million citizens was displaced in Hezbollah, and also across the grid. So we have what it takes to continue to push for peace, fix those areas, clean up the messes, as well as still protect citizens while we move forward, trying to find a way to seize all of these battles diplomatically, since there was a 15-point ceasefire that was transferred from America to Iran. Iran did respond with theirs, with their list of demands. So we are trying to do everything that we can in our capacity to assist the embassies, the companies here for the support. Again, this is the main reason why we switched over from the congressional to the diplomacy, to bring on technology to kick in some level of negotiations, see what we can do as an entity to move forward.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much. And please let the 𝗲𝗓 know just our condolences if anyone was lost in that tragic incident, and that our prayers are with him.
I think the 𝗲𝗓 is more upset that about his palace. Is he got like a lot of gold over there. I think that's really what his main issue is. He's trying to figure out how he can get that fixed on the cheapest manner. It must be nice to be a 𝗲𝗓. Mr. Miller, why aren't we 𝗲𝗓s?
But right, we're still praying for him, because I mean that's still a dangerous situation. But men, y'all are different. Y'all are just wired differently from us women. We're just like, we're so concerned. Are you okay? You're like, I'm good, man. But they messed up my crib. Like, really? Like, that's the conversation we're having. Oh my God.
That's right.
Yeah, she called me talking, said, "Seven, I can't believe the debris hit my palace. It's over here. Do you know how much I paid for this? You should be happy you're alive."
Right. Like we're having a conversation. Are you okay?
Yeah, right.
Must be nice.
Exactly. But again, thank you guys for joining us here. And we're looking
No
forward to
problem.
having
Thank
a
you for having us,
conversation
Doctor.
with the street. All right, you guys have a good one.
You too now.